What's going on, guys? It's RMP and welcome back to my second upload of the day. Of course, earlier on we discussed potential transfers, looked at the Yuan Wissa situation, and we went in to what potential players Newcastle could be signing, of course, over the next 2 weeks, as it is now 14 days into the transfer window is closed, which means 2 more weeks of Alexander Isak drama. Once there's 2 weeks up, there's still going to be more drama if he stays at Newcastle, but you will know in the next 2 weeks whether he stays or he goes. And judging from the reaction yesterday, surely no way back for him. But I'm still not fully convinced by that, and we'll explain why shortly. But Liverpool, in the build-up to our next match, of course, we are playing Liverpool a week tomorrow, Monday night at St James's Park. To be honest, Liverpool fans watching this video, if I was to ask you the question now of ranking your hardest matches in the Premier League this season, most of you would put Newcastle away in the top 5, top 6, and you have a golden opportunity to have a real advantage going into the game next week. And just before we explain why, if you guys are new around here, make sure I get down there, hit that subscribe button, stay updated for the build-up to the Liverpool game. Got plenty of videos coming out over the next 2 weeks, of course, leading up to transfer deadline day. So make sure I get down there and join the journey. So how does Newcastle get screwed over by Liverpool? The obvious example, Alexander Isak. This is a player who wants to join Liverpool. His agent has described moving to Liverpool as the client's dream move. The agent's going to push for it. The player's going to push for it. Hell, they've already pushed for it. This is a guy who is currently getting the biggest ever fine in the history of our football club because he is refusing to play on our games. And bearing in mind, you watched the Villa game yesterday. Massive reason why we dropped 2 points. And just to give a further example, Eze is also a player who is wanting to leave Crystal Palace this summer. But even he played today against Chelsea. So what's Isak's excuse? We've got a player here who is respecting the football club and a player who's actually playing for Crystal Palace, despite the fact that he wants out. He's shown respect, yet Alexander Isak's not. So what's with the double standards here? And just to quickly mention about the agent before we talk a bit more about Liverpool, Emilio Martinez is yet another client of this agent who's been looking for a brand new club since May, and he hasn't found a club yet. So the agent this summer has certainly been not exactly helping his clients out, and the 2 horrific transfer stories here are 2 players that are just struggling to get the moves that they want. And this poor guy, by the way, has already said goodbye to the Aston Villa fans, was the world's best goalkeeper, ranked PFA number 1 in the world, and he can't find a move because these agency is currently trying to get the record-breaking transfer fee for Alexander Isak. So he's not even looking at his other clients. I mean, this poor guy has not got a football club all summer long because the agency clearly is prioritising Alexander Isak because they know an Isak sale will bring them a ridiculous amount of money while also bringing brand new clients in. So look at the way they're treating Emilio Martinez and look at the way they're treating the situation to Newcastle United. And you can point the finger in many areas. The agency's certainly one of them. Now, Isak's a different story because Newcastle, of course, owns him. Newcastle has the player for 3 more years contractually, and it's a player who is looking to go out no matter what this summer. Liverpool will use this against us in the build-up to the game. Why would they not? Of course, next week at St James's Park, they will place a bid before that game. There is no way they are not going to place a second bid in Alexander Isak before the match at St James's Park. In the build-up, if I was Liverpool, I would be doing it around the press conference time. You're talking the weekend before the game at St James's Park. I will be putting serious pressure on Newcastle. And not even just Isak. Gordon was a player they wanted last summer. Even putting bids in Gordon. Throwing bids at Tonali. Stupid bids that are never ever going to be accepted. But just trying to stir Newcastle up and trying to wind up our ownership and to really peeve off Eddie Howe. And Liverpool's going to do stuff like that. I don't know how far they go. I don't know if they'll stick with just Isak. But there is no way from here until the game next week at St James's Park that Liverpool is not going to try their luck. 100% they are going to rattle Newcastle behind the scenes. And 100% this Isak bid, you would imagine, especially if Liverpool has any real intent of actually signing the player this summer, this is the week they're going to do it. This is the week they're going to throw everything at Newcastle. And this is the week that Isak and his agent are going to do everything against Newcastle. They're going to continue their luck. They're going to continue to push his football club. But which way is it going to go? But I will also give a warning out to Liverpool and the Liverpool fans, because if you push Newcastle too far, if you look to exploit Newcastle and look to properly take the mick out of Newcastle, Just a reminder, you are playing us next week at St James's Park. So what do you think our players are going to do to Liverpool players? Of course, if you guys are going to be horrific behind the scenes, you're going to properly stir up the dressing room. You're going to set the dressing room off. The dressing room, especially players like Jordan, who is notorious, Dan Burn, the local lads as well, they're not going to take this crap from Liverpool. They are going to be horrible. They're going to put some nasty tackles in there. The crowd, as the game progresses, they're going to grow into the game. It's going to be one where Liverpool, if they push too far this week, and if you properly do Newcastle in this week, they're going to do you in at St James's Park, basically. So, yeah, that's the gamble Liverpool are going to play, and I reckon Liverpool are going to really play Newcastle this week. I really expect them to tie with Newcastle. I'm expecting to push fully in for Alexander Isak, and I expect them at the same time to properly disrupt the dressing room and just look to slowly pick Newcastle apart before the matches even took place next Monday, because deep down, they know it's a hard game. They know it's a hard game for them, and they know at St James's Park against a fiery crowd and a fiery set of players who have been at Liverpool all summer long now, they know that's a hard game. So in the build-up to that match, their ownership, their board and their football club is going to do everything to go against Newcastle, and they're going to do everything to try and take Isak off us while unsettling the rest of the squad at the same time. And all summer long, we've heard from the likes of Fabrizio Romano, we've heard from the likes of Ben Jerk, that Liverpool's been respectful towards Newcastle. Put your money where your mouth is. Show us this week that you're going to be respectful. Show us this week, you said it, once Newcastle brings us attacking options in, we will go for Alexander Isak. We haven't signed one striker yet, so we're not going to sign two strikers over the next 7 days. So show me that you're going to be respectful. Show the Newcastle fans that you're going to be respectful and stay away from Alexander Isak this week. But deep down, we know that's not going to be the case because there's already been a bid. So that bid didn't come out of nowhere, and I'm willing to bet there'll be a second bid this week. And if Liverpool has any real intent, this second bid needs to be a big bid, because the £110 million last time, especially during the time we were out in the Asia tour, Isak's basically on strike back home. Eddie Howe doesn't even know where the player is. That was when Liverpool should have probably got the player. If they'd thrown, let's say, 130 to £140 million around that period when Isak was seriously acted up, that would have been the golden chance to secure the player. Whereas now, Newcastle is, of course, back at the training ground. The ownership is hands-on with Alexander Isak, so it's going to be harder to take him away. And I still stand by the message I've said all summer long. Two strikers need to come in to secure the signing of Alexander Isak. Yohan Wissa will be number one. There's no second one. It does not make any sense for Newcastle to give Alexander Isak up after signing Wissa. Why would you go from two strikers to one? You aren't going to do that. It has to be two strikers, then Isak goes. And realistically, who is Newcastle going to sign now? Liverpool fans, you think I'm being biased? Tell me now, who could Newcastle actually sign up front alongside Wissa before the window closes? I would love to hear your suggestions, because we haven't got a clue who could get now. It's not going to be Jackson, it's not going to be Samuel, and it's not going to be Gonzalo Ramos. There's no one else left. There's no one else left that is going to be even enough to potentially fill the boots of Isak, while at the same time, our ownership and our manager will probably want to also show Alexander Isak up in our project in order to look good. If after the entire summer we let Isak just go to Liverpool in the last week of the window, how does that make us look good? Unless it's seriously the £150 million, which Liverpool's not going to do, by the way, because you've seen the state of their attack. So Liverpool's not going to put the money down. So why is Newcastle going to give him up? Worst case scenario, you keep the guy around, doesn't want to play. Newcastle at least is able to show the message that if an agent and a player is wanting to push themselves around Newcastle, he's going to lose his money every single week. He can sit in the reserves and get nothing for the rest of the season, because Newcastle's going to keep fining him every game that he misses. And once that transfer window closes, he's either going to sit there and keep losing money and waste a year of his career, which he's not going to do. Let's be realistic. He'll sack his agent after the transfer window is closed. He'll say sorry to the club, he'll say sorry to Eddie Howe, and gradually he'll come back in and play for Newcastle again. That is what will happen if the transfer window closes. It makes no logical sense for the player to just refuse to play for Newcastle after the window closes. And I feel like our ownership and Eddie Howe, while of course I've been negative and rightfully so towards Isak, I reckon they're also banking on that. I think deep down they know that this act and this stance that Isak is playing up, it's going to go once that transfer window closes. But of course, keeping that player around means that in future transfer windows, that noise is not going to go anywhere. That noise will stay there. It will stay there during this season. And just like you seen yesterday, it will affect Newcastle on the pitch. But we're still in there. And then you got, even though you'd be unhappy, you got an Alexander Isak coming in after the transfer window closes. Newcastle still will have two strikers. And that's a guy that will have to earn the right to play for this football club. You see the fans yesterday called him a greedy beat. You can't blame them. He has to earn the opportunity and earn the right to play for this football club again. I don't care who you are and I don't care how many goals you score. If you disrespect this football club and you treat the fans like that, we pay our hard-earned money and spent a lot of time travelling to Villa Park yesterday. If you're going to refuse to play for this football club, you have to earn your way back into the team. And that's currently where I see things going, because without that second striker, Newcastle won't give him up. Newcastle will not give Isak up, and Liverpool this week will do everything, and I mean everything, to get this player in. They'll throw everything at Newcastle. They're going to disrupt us and affect us as much as possible. So that game at St James's Park next week, in their point of view, is the easiest possibility and the easiest chance of just walking into that game and winning it. But deep down, they know, especially how the summer's been, Newcastle will be up for that game. They know our players are going to kick them in. It'll feel like a derby, even though it's not. Deep down, game at St James's Park next week, Liverpool know they're in for a hard time, and without any disruption this week, they know Newcastle is going to give everything. So Liverpool now have to play the dark arts this week and have to throw everything at Newcastle in the build-up. And I'm telling you, these bids are going to be flying around. They'll be doing everything to disrupt the team, and especially the likes of Gordon, who, of course, Liverpool wanted to sign last summer. I wouldn't be surprised as a Gordon bid as well, because Liverpool's a smart club. They know what they're doing. You know months in advance heading into this transfer. You know Isak's being talked to. There's no way him and his agent are behaving like this without real confidence that he would have joined Liverpool, because Isak's thrown everything at this move and it hasn't went his way. I think it's been, in his point of view, a bit of a misguided approach. I feel like he's probably banked on Liverpool really wanting the player. But deep down, after Ekitike, Liverpool doesn't need Isak. They need a striker, but they don't need Isak. They can sign a lesser striker and go for Isak next summer. Whereas Newcastle desperately needs Isak now, and I feel like him and his agent have misjudged how much both clubs need him. Liverpool doesn't really need him. Newcastle does. And that's the issue for Isak, because now he's pushed too far and Newcastle's not going to give him more. Newcastle's got that pride now, and Newcastle has that project now that they need to protect. Isak's went too far, and he does not deserve the Liverpool move because of how far he's went. He doesn't deserve that move. He has to earn the move, and he has to earn the right to play for Newcastle United. He's pushed it, and he's pushed it too far, and there's no way back currently at Newcastle United. But next summer, he'll get his move. He'll get his dream move to Liverpool. He has to earn it fair and square, because he's done this club in. He's done our fan base, and he's done those players in. And he hasn't got the balls to go back to that training ground and to actually train with the squad, because he will be humble doing that. He will lose his confidence and he lose that spark, because he probably thinks he's better than everyone. He thinks he's just going to walk into Liverpool and Newcastle's going to hand Isak over to Liverpool. On what planet does he think we are on? He's massively misjudged the situation. He believes Liverpool's desperate form. They're not. They're not going to put £150 million into him. They're not going to put £140 million into him. Hell, even £130 million they may not put into him. Liverpool don't need him. Liverpool will try again next summer. If they don't get him this summer, they're not desperately in need of Isak, whereas Newcastle is, and he's messed the entire thing up. And the agent is mainly to blame. But this is a 25-year-old lad who has been on board for everything the agent's done. Both of them are the problem. Newcastle now has to deal with all this noise for 2 more weeks, and once that window closes, this is a player that I still stand by is going to be here. Unhappy, but will be here at Newcastle, because he's pushed it too far and we haven't been able to sort it out. Once we lost Benjamin Sesko, that's it. Benjamin Sesko was the guy we wanted and we lost him. Newcastle is not going to put 80, 90 million pounds into a player that is far down our transfer list. Why would we do that? It makes more sense for Newcastle now to cut their losses. Isak goes next summer for a cheaper deal, but you get the guy back on side. You've got 2 strikers this year. He has to apologise. He has to be humbled. He has to show the respect. Go back in that dressing room if he dares to actually go up to Eddie Howe and go up to the players and go, I got it wrong, guys. I'll play one more season. I will leave my own terms next summer. But he likely won't do that, because he knows by doing that, he knows he's wrong, and he doesn't want to admit he's wrong. He wants that Liverpool move, and he's going to do everything with his agent to keep pushing for it. We'll see which way it goes, because it's going to be a story that is going to be changing a lot during the week. But big warning message. Liverpool are going to use this for their advantage. They know St James's Park's a hard game, and they're going to throw everything at Newcastle in the build-up to that game. So watch out, be prepared, and expect a lot of noise. Serious noise. Expect a lot of it this week, because in the build-up to that game, Liverpool are going to do it. Liverpool are going to throw everything at them, and I fully expect the second bid to come this week. Will it be enough? We shall wait and see.